Welcome back to Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast. It's been what feels like forever, nearly 30 years since we lost Princess Diana.
Oh, yeah.
But her story, kind of like a captivating fairy tale that went terribly wrong,
Right.
still fascinates. Are you ready to go back to that fateful night in Paris?
Absolutely.
August 31st, 1997.
Let's do it. It really does unfold like a movie script. Twists and turns and a completely unpredictable ending.
Okay, so imagine this. You're in Paris, just got back from vacationing on the Riviera,
Okay.
maybe with someone special. You find yourself staying at the Ritz, synonymous with luxury and extravagance, just like Diana and Al-Fayed were. But this fairy tale had a lurking shadow, the paparazzi.
The Ritz, as luxurious as it is, was also a total fishbowl, especially for someone like Diana. Every single move she made was tracked, photographed, just totally analyzed. It's really hard to imagine just that constant scrutiny.
Totally. And it's this relentless attention that sets the stage for what happens next. They come up with this plan to slip away unnoticed. Decoy car, back entrance, midnight escape. It sounds kind of cloak and dagger, don't you think?
It does, and you have to remember, this was 1997, no social media, no smartphones, constantly uploading images. The paparazzi were the gatekeepers of these images, and they were relentless in their pursuit. So under the cover of darkness, Diana and Dodi, along with their driver, Henri Paul, and bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, speed away from the Ritz, their destination. Dodi's father's apartment near the Champs-Élysées. They make it through Place de la Concorde along the Seine, a route any tourist might take, right? And then they enter the Place de l'Alma underpass.
It's almost like a scene from a suspense film, the calm before the storm.
Right, and you can almost feel the tension building. They're so close to escaping the paparazzi, to having a few moments of privacy. But fate, as we know, had other plans.
At the entrance to the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, everything changes. The car, a Mercedes-Benz, loses control. Now, here's where it gets really interesting and kind of eerie. The Mercedes they were in, a rebuilt wreck. It had been totaled just 3 years prior. I mean, wouldn't you think twice about getting into a car with that history?
It's a detail that sends chills down your spine. You have to wonder if that played a role in the tragedy that unfolded.
At over 100 kilometers per hour, more than double the speed limit, the car careens into the 13th pillar of the tunnel. Can you picture that? The impact, the screeching metal, the sudden silence.
It's a scene that's hard to shake. And to add to the chaos, the paparazzi, who had been trailing behind, arrive. Some, to their credit, try to help, but others, well, they do what they do best, capturing the horror unfolding before them.
It's a stark reminder of the double-edged sword of fame. The desire for a glimpse into the lives of the rich and famous often comes at a cost, and in this case, the cost was tragically high. But let's shift our focus to Diana. What was her condition in those terrifying moments after the crash?
Diana, despite being critically injured, was conscious. Multiple fractures, internal injuries. It's a miracle she was even alive. The impact was concentrated on the right side of the car, and it's believed Diana was sitting sideways at the time, taking the brunt of the force.
What about the others? Dodi, Henri Paul, the bodyguard?
Sadly, both Dodi and Henri Paul, the driver, were pronounced dead at the scene. Trevor Rees-Jones, the bodyguard, was the sole survivor, though severely injured.
It's almost unbelievable that anyone walked away from that wreckage. So amidst the chaos, the flashing lights, the frantic attempts to save lives, the question on everyone's mind was, how did this happen?
That's where the investigations come in. The initial French investigation, wrapping up in 1999, pointed the finger squarely at Henri Paul, the driver. He was heavily intoxicated, with a blood alcohol level almost 4 times the legal limit, and traces of prescription drugs were found in his system.
It seems pretty open and shut, right? Driver error, a tragic accident. But if you remember, there were whispers, rumors, full-blown conspiracy theories swirling around Diana's death. Before we get into that, I just want to remind you to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more fascinating stories just like this one. Right, where were we? It's the conspiracies.
This is where the story takes a turn. Mohammed Al-Fayed, Dodi's father, refused to accept the official explanation. He claimed the crash was a meticulously planned assassination orchestrated by MI6, the British intelligence service, possibly even with the knowledge of the royal family.
Now that's a bombshell, accusing the very institutions Diana was connected to. It's like something straight out of a spy thriller.
Exactly. It was a claim that shocked the world, and frankly, many dismissed it as grief-stricken speculation. But Al-Fayed was insistent, pouring resources into his own investigations, fueling the public's fascination with the what-ifs.
So we have this collision of official findings and alternative theories, shrouded in grief and speculation. Where do we go from here? Well, let's unpack those theories, examine the evidence, and see if there's more to this story than meets the eye.
It's a rabbit hole, isn't it?
Yeah.
This world of conspiracy theories. We have the official investigations,
Right.
but then these alternative narratives emerge,
Uh-huh.
challenging the accepted version of events.
It's like choosing to believe in the fairy tale or facing a harsh reality.
Right.
And for some, that reality was just too painful to accept. I mean, think about it. Princess Diana, the people's princess, taken from the world in such a brutal way, it's almost natural to seek answers,
Yeah.
even if they lie in the realm of conspiracy.
Exactly. And Al-Fayed's accusations were so sensational, so audacious,
Yeah.
that they grabbed the world's attention.
Oh.
He claimed Diana and Dodi were victims of a plot orchestrated by those who saw their relationship as a threat.
A threat to who?
Yeah.
The royal family.
That was the implication. Remember, Dodi was Egyptian, a Muslim. Some speculated that their union would have been frowned upon within certain circles of British society, even within the royal family.
So these conspiracy theories tapped into existing anxieties about class, religion, and even race. It's almost like they offered a narrative that fit a certain worldview. But what about actual evidence? Was there anything to support Al-Fayed's claims?
Well, he certainly presented some intriguing pieces of the puzzle. He pointed to inconsistencies in witness testimonies, alleged cover-ups by authorities, even the mysterious white Fiat Uno that was supposedly involved in the crash but never found.
A phantom car. That sounds like something out of a spy novel.
It does, doesn't it? And it added fuel to the fire of conspiracy. Al-Fayed even claimed that the driver, Henri Paul, was working for MI6,
Well,
that he was deliberately intoxicated,
oh wow.
and that the crash was staged.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. So we have these claims, these whispers of intrigue. But what about the official investigations? Did they ever address these conspiracy theories directly?
They did. Both the French and British investigations took Al-Fayed's claims seriously, examining the evidence, interviewing witnesses, and analyzing every detail of the crash.
And what did they conclude?
And both investigations ultimately rejected the conspiracy theories. They found no credible evidence to support the claims of a staged crash or a hit job. They pointed to Henri Paul's intoxication as the primary cause, with the paparazzi's reckless pursuit as a contributing factor.
So the official verdict was that Diana's death was a tragic accident, a combination of recklessness and bad luck. But even with these findings, the conspiracy theories persisted, didn't they?
They did, and they continue to circulate even today. For some, the official explanations simply weren't enough. They clung to the alternative narratives, finding comfort, perhaps, in the belief that there was something more, something sinister behind Diana's death.
It's understandable, isn't it? When someone we admire, someone who seems larger than life, is taken from us so suddenly, it's hard to accept that it could be due to something as mundane as a drunk driver or reckless photographers. We want to believe there's a grander reason, a purpose behind the tragedy.
Absolutely. And that's where conspiracy theories often thrive, in the gap between what we know and what we want to believe.
But let's step back from the conspiracies for a moment and consider the global reaction to Diana's death. The world mourned, didn't it?
It did. The outpouring of grief was unlike anything we'd seen before. Millions of flowers blanketed Kensington Palace, her London residence. Condolence books overflowed in embassies around the world. Flags flew at half-mast, and countless people lined the streets of London during her funeral procession.
It's almost like the world stopped to grieve collectively. It's a testament to the impact she had, the way she touched people's lives.
Exactly. She was the people's princess, and her death was felt deeply by people from all walks of life. Her warmth, her empathy, her willingness to challenge the status quo, it resonated with millions.
Her funeral was a global event, wasn't it?
It was. Held at Westminster Abbey on September 6th, it drew dignitaries, celebrities, and millions of ordinary people who felt a deep connection to Diana. An estimated 3 million people lined the streets of London to pay their respects, while billions more watched on television.
And Elton John's performance, his rewritten Candle in the Wind, became an instant classic, capturing the mood of a world in mourning.
It was a truly moving tribute, but amidst the outpouring of grief, there was also a sense of unease, wasn't
And
there?
talking about the royal family, right?
Right.
Their reaction, or perceived lack thereof,
Yes,
caused quite a stir.
it did. The public expected a more visible display of emotion, and the royal family, bound by tradition and protocol, seemed to approach Diana's death more formally.
There was a sense that the public was grieving more openly, more emotionally than the royal family. It fueled a debate about the role of the monarchy, its relevance in modern society.
Precisely. Diana's death, in a way, forced the royal family to confront its own image. its relationship with the public. It was a watershed moment, highlighting the tension between tradition and the public's desire for a more relatable, more human monarchy.
It's fascinating how a single event, a tragic accident, could have such far-reaching consequences,
Right.
impacting not just a family, but an institution as old as the British monarchy.
It speaks to Diana's influence, her ability to shake things up, even in death. She was a catalyst for change, even if that change was unintentional.
So we have this global mourning, this scrutiny of the royal family, and these lingering conspiracy theories. It's a complex tapestry of emotions and narratives, all woven together by this one tragic event. Where do we go here?
Well, let's shift our focus from the immediate aftermath to the longer-term impact of Diana's death. How did it change the world? What were the lasting consequences?
That's a great question. We've talked about the impact on the royal family. But what about the broader societal implications?
Diana's death sparked conversations about a range of issues, from media ethics and paparazzi behavior to the public's relationship with celebrity and the boundaries between public and private life. It was a wake-up call, a moment of reckoning.
And a reminder that even fairy tales can have tragic endings. It's almost like Diana's death ripped the curtain back,
Yeah.
exposing the machinery behind the fairy tale.
Right.
We saw the relentless pursuit of images, the blurring of lines between public and private, the hunger for sensationalism that sometimes overrides basic human decency.
It was a stark reminder that even princesses, those seemingly untouchable figures, are vulnerable. Diana's story, in a way, humanized the monarchy, made it relatable, but also exposed its flaws, its inability to always protect its own.
And it sparked a conversation about our own roles in this whole system. Are we, the consumers of celebrity news, complicit in this intrusive culture? Do we feed the beast by clicking on those headlines, by buying those magazines?
Those are questions that continue to resonate today, especially in the age of social media, where everyone with a smartphone is a potential paparazzi. We have more access than ever to the lives of public figures, but at what cost?
Diana's death was a wake-up call for the media as well, wasn't it?
Absolutely. There was a sense of collective soul-searching within the industry. News organizations grappled with their own ethical guidelines, with the balance between the public's right to know and an individual's right to privacy.
And did anything actually change? I mean, we still see celebrities hounded by paparazzi, their personal lives splashed across tabloids.
There were some shifts. Some countries implemented stricter laws regarding paparazzi behavior, especially around the harassment of individuals. There was also a greater awareness within the media of the potential consequences of intrusive reporting.
But you're right, the core issues remain. The public's fascination with celebrity hasn't waned, and the media, for the most part, continues to cater to that hunger. But beyond the paparazzi and the media, Diana's death also had a profound impact on the causes she championed. She was a vocal advocate for a range of issues, from AIDS awareness to landmine eradication. Did her death bring more attention to these causes?
It did. Diana's work with AIDS patients, her willingness to challenge the stigma surrounding the disease, was groundbreaking at the time. Her death brought a renewed focus to the fight against AIDS, and her legacy continues to inspire activism in that area.
But what about her campaign against landmines?
Her visit to Angola in 1997, those images of her walking through a minefield wearing protective gear, had a powerful impact. It humanized the issue, brought it into the global spotlight. Her death galvanized the movement to ban landmines in the Ottawa Treaty, which prohibits the use, stockpiling, production, and transfer of anti-personnel mines, was signed just a few months later.
It's incredible to think that even in death, Diana continued to make a difference. Her legacy extends far beyond the walls of Kensington Palace.
It does. And it speaks to the power of one person to inspire change, to make a difference in the world. Diana's story is a reminder that we all have the potential to leave behind a positive legacy, to use our voices and actions to make the world a better place.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Princess Diana's story, what's the one takeaway you hope our listeners will ponder?
That's a great question. I think it's this. Diana's life was a tapestry of contradictions, glamour and vulnerability, tradition and rebellion, tragedy and triumph. But through it all, she remained a beacon of hope, a symbol of compassion and empathy. What can we learn from her story? How can we, in our own lives, embody those same values of kindness, courage, and a commitment to making a positive impact on the world?
That's a powerful thought to leave our listeners with. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life and legacy of Princess Diana. And as always, stay curious, keep exploring, and remember, there's always more to the story.